our life is going to be filled with a great deal of challenges. Um, some of us are going to have some success, and then some of us may not have as many successes. We're going to have our life is going to be filled with. We're going to have prosperity in some degree or another. Then some of us may not have that prosperity. You might have it; it might end up leaving. It might go away. It might be taken away from you. You're going to have death in your family. You're going to have that. You have a whole bunch of different things going on. We're on a journey. That's what we're on. We're on a journey, everyone. And, by Midbar, the Torah allows us to walk in the footsteps of our fathers and see the different challenges that they were faced with. And I believe wholeheartedly that the Creator himself has allowed us to get some insight on how do we respond and what his intentions are for the nation of Israel. This in particular week's Torah portion was very challenging. You're trying to find out, well, what does this have to do with us today, and how does it teach us? What are we supposed to learn from it? And so there's a few different things that we're going to go over today that I'm going to introduce you to and kind of give you the perspective of what Yahweh's intention is, what his intentions are. We talked about this whole entire week about there being enemies, that Israel has a great deal of enemies. And we found out also this week that, the idea of the devil is a concept that was created by the Greeks and the Romans. They created that concept to get us off the idea of, understanding that there's going to be opposition, and they don't want us to fight against our enemies. They don't want you to fight against your enemies. They want you to fight against an enemy that can't be seen. The devil does not exist. There's an individual by the name of Ha-Satan that does exist. We also found that Yah has used the Malach, one of his messengers, to be a Ha-Satan that showed up to Balaam, who was going in opposition against what the Most High had said. We also found that individuals can be considered to be a Ha-Satan. You're always going to have opponents. I gave the example of the chessboard, and how we look at that is that every move that's being made on the chessboard is from Yah. Yah's moving pieces. Yah's moving nations. Yah's moving seers. Yah's moving diviners. Yah's moving the sun. He's moving the moon and the stars. He's moving all things. And one of the things that Balaam has stated in this Torah portion, and he's the seer, the diviner, is that I can only say what Yahweh has said. I can only do what he told me to do, and that is the theme that we're going with. And that's been my theme since I've come into this truth. I recognize that someone gave a message here. Okay. Oh, thank you, Toto Rava for that. Yes. So thank you so much. Yah has given us this understanding about how important it is to listen only to him. Okay. If you and I fail to do this, you and I are going to be met with opposition. Ultimately, we're also going to be met with death if you don't listen to what Yahweh says. I thought this week we were going to get through the Torah portion and there wouldn't be any problems with the Torah portion. Begins off with some other guy named Balak, right? And some other character named Balaam, and the Midians and the elders. And as I kept reading through the Torah portion, I forgot that there was a part in the tail end of it that Israel themselves has found another way to rebel against the Creator. And so hopefully this presentation that I have for you today may give you some more insight and some understanding about what direction you and I need to take moving forward. That way we will not be an enemy of the Creator himself, because the Most High has enemies. Even the people within the ranks of the children of Israel have decided that they want to be an enemy. So I'm going to try to help bring some understanding to that today. Did anyone have a contribution? It doesn't have to be a video presentation. It doesn't have to be any of those things. It could be simply by making a statement. Hallelujah. Wow. We have Azanya. Yes.
Shalom, dear brother. Can I be heard?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I would like to ask a question, and maybe I just got finished watching. Elder Bill and I watched The Devil this morning for our early morning Shabbat teaching, and I was. It brought me to Zechariah 3, and if you can remember. If you can remember on Zechariah 3, where Joshua is raised up and he has on dirty clothes. I'm trying to get to it. And the accuser is there. And are the accuser and the opponent, are they the same thing? Is that a Hashatan in Zechariah 3?
Yes, it is a Hasatan. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It is a Hasatan.
Okay.
And so, as stated in the teaching, there's a lot of characteristics. So, for example, you'll have opposition, right, which is an opponent, which is an adversary, which is an accuser. So they function, in the same way. So, as I was stating, is that this idea of the devil, right, this devil, this so-called devil, is the one making us do certain things, and that's not necessarily true. You have to make the decision yourself. They're there to be an opposer to you, but you don't have to follow what's going on. Yored, go ahead. Somebody had their hand raised.
My contribution is from Shalishi when you spoke about the lineage of Abraham and how our own family could be the adversary in this whole ordeal in this walk. So sometimes they say blood is thicker than water. Most times it's not. So that's my observation from Shalishi.
Yes, very true. Very true for that contribution. You'll see that, and we've seen that through the teaching. We've seen that the people that are coming against Israel, right, or Yisrael, are family members. They're the Yishmaelims. They're from that family, a direct connection. They're from Edom, a direct connection to Yaakov. They're from Midian, a direct connection through Abraham. They're Moab and Ammon. They're from Lot, which is Abraham's, nephew, family. You're going to have this, okay? So this is just a big ordeal between family. That's what this is about, okay? But as I was stating to you guys, I want it to be understood that all opposition, this is the point, okay, is from Yahweh. It's from him. Everything that happens is from him. There is no other entity. There is no one who's in control of nothing except for Yah. I don't care if you're a prophet. I don't care if you're a seer. I don't care if you're a king. I don't care who you are. And I don't care what you've done. I don't care if you're a world leader. I don't care. And he doesn't care, because he said, and he's letting us know that the only thing that you can say and only the thing that you can do is what I said. There's not a star that moves out of its course that Yahweh doesn't know what it is. The sun and the moon and the stars all function and operate according to the Kukim that Yah has made. Now, I know that I'm going to be speaking today in some terms that a lot of us are going to have some difficulty understanding and wanting to accept. We don't want to accept the fact that Yahweh will send somebody or something against us. We don't want to accept the fact that Yah says, if I curse you, I cursed you. I know you read the Torah portion today that said this week that says that Yaakov is not cursed. But if you read it correctly, you would understand if Yahweh cursed Yaakov, then Yaakov will be cursed. If Yahweh would bless Yaakov, Yaakov will be blessed. And so there's always going to be this back and forth and trying to figure out, are we blessed or are we cursed? Well, the answer to that is Yah has allowed a curse to come upon us. Yah has put a curse as an attachment to the covenant that he made with us. You and I are the ones who initiated the curse. Okay? So Yahweh did not say, well, let me just curse these people. He didn't do that. He put a curse, a provision inside of his words that said, if you go outside of what I said, this is going to happen. He even told the people, he even mentioned to them, cursed is anyone who doesn't lift up, rise up the Torah, who doesn't lift it up. That person's cursed. So this is our own doing. See, Yah has allowed this to happen because this is what his word says. He is not going to change his mind when he says he's going to do what he's going to do. We found in the Torah portion this week that Balaam had told Balak, Yah said, speak to him and tell him the words I said. And he's told him, he said, number one, Yahweh is not a human being. He's not going to change his mind. You understand? But then you say, well, isn't there scriptures that say that Yah decided not to destroy Jerusalem? He changed his mind then. So what is it? This is a back and forth. This is a contradiction. No, we got to understand in what context he's saying this. Meaning, if I told you something, listen, if it came out of Yahweh's mouth, it's going to happen. If he says, I'm going to curse you, then you're going to be cursed. If he says you're going to have a Zazarat for the rest of your life and you and your kids, that's what you're going to get. If he tells you that if you don't feed or take care of the widow and the stranger, I'm going to kill you, that's exactly what he means. But Yahweh has opposition. He has people that are going around saying that he's not going to do these things. That he's all of a sudden changed his mind. That he's going to let the wicked go. I'm going to kill the innocent and let the wicked go free. And you and I both know that none of us can go to a courtroom right now after murdering somebody and go in there and say, I'm a Christian and Christ died for my sins, and therefore I want to be exonerated on the behalf of what he did for me. That's not going to happen. We learned also this week that we have perverted justice. That you and I are Elohims. But we don't want to be an Elohim. We don't want to be an Elohim. We don't want to take responsibility for the world. Yet Yah says that you're going to be the chief of the nations. You are my sons and you're my daughters, and your manner of life and conduct have to line up and match up to what it is that you are. If I called you an Elohim, that's exactly what you are. Read it for yourselves. He says, I have made a decree that you are Elohim. But we get offended and we get upset when he says that you're a God. Because the God of the New Testament says that, Christ is God. Jesus is God. That's because they don't understand the concept of what an Elohim is. An Elohim is someone with power. Power to adjudicate. Power to make decisions, power to judge. Yah has made us the judges of situations. He's given us judges all through the tribes of Israel. He's given leaders. He's given Zakain and Zakanah. You and I have a right to judge. You have a right to examine. You have a right to say what's right and what's wrong. You have a right to tell your children, well, this is what is right and this is what is wrong. Whether they listen or don't listen doesn't matter. They're still going to get judged by Yah. And he says, if they don't listen, what am I going to do with them? Christianity says, oh, don't provoke your children. Don't make them upset. Fathers, don't provoke your kids. What does that mean? You can provoke your child because you told them not to do something they did. Is that provoking them? Are you provoking them because you asked them to wash the dishes and they won't do it? Is that provoking them? In this culture that you and I live in right now, it's very, very dangerous. And we're going to have to understand that the only words that matter from here on out is what Yahweh says. In the presentation today, there are going to be some things in here that will make you want to quit walking with Yah. He wants to know who is with me and who's against me. I'm going to find out who you are. I'm going to find out what you're made of. I'm going to find out if you're going to bend. I'm going to find out if you're going to try to turn what I said into what you want it to be. You and I are bound to Yahweh, the King of the universe. Oh, it's a wonderful thing. It's great. We get to go to the land, right? But we don't want to accept responsibility for our actions, our manner of life, and our conduct. And that's a problem. You understand? So when he talks to us today, he's going to say some things. And you should have a notepad and a pen. This is not a sermon. This is a teaching. It's going to tell all of us what Yahweh is saying. He doesn't want you to listen to no man whatsoever. Peter, Paul, James, Titus, Barnabas, none of these people. None. And we're going to get some clarification today about this character over here in the New Testament. We'll shed some light on that too as well. Okay, so let's get started. And I want everyone to feel free to ask questions so you and I could get an understanding, so we can have clarity. We are a family of people and we have the right to speak to one another. That's why I love this platform. I love it because you have a voice. You don't have to sit, and if you know the answer to something because someone else is not saying it, don't you dare sit there and sit on it. You respond so someone else can learn from it. Often people don't say anything because they're just they're absorbing it. I don't need you guys to always respond to every question I ask. I know sometimes you might have the answer, sometimes you not. You do have the answer you don't want to answer because you want to give someone else the opportunity. But let's talk. That's what this is about. It's about us having a conversation and opening up to one another, and all of us understanding that our job, okay, as a community, as a family, is to walk with our Elohim in humility and with lowliness. That's our job. Okay. So in this presentation that I'm going to share with you right quick, and of course, I always ask in advance for you to bear with me because I'm just still trying to get used to a lot of different things. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Hallelujah. You know, I put this picture up here. He said, well, what does that got to do with Balak? I didn't hear anything. I heard something about a donkey, but I didn't hear nothing about no lion. Did anybody read anything in the Torah this week about a lion?
Yes.
What'd you hear? What'd you hear about a lion?
I guess it's set on, is it chapter 23?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
It's chapter 23.
yeah, I think it just mentions about lion.
It's verse 24. Read it for us. It's verse 24. Read it for us.
And then, is it verse 24? But I
Yes,
think
it
that's
is.
24. Sorry, I just read it.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, it says, behold, the people of lions is rises up, and the lion, it lifts itself, and it does not lie down until he devoured the prey and drunk the blood of the slain. Or I
Thank
call
you.
it Simba.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hallelujah. You can write that down as Midbar 23:24. And it mentions this people, and this is something that Balaam had told Balak. Balak was concerned, like, hey, these people are like going to be like an ox. They're going to come up and they're going to lick up all the resources. They're growing out of their numbers. They're going to take over. We know what they just did to the Emrys. We understand that. So now these people are a threat. He saw them as an ox. Okay. Yah says he's going to give the children of Israel the power of an ox. They're going to have the power of an ox. Okay. But what they really are is a people that are like a lioness, like a lion that's going to rear up and that's going to not lie down, and it's going to eat up its prey, and it's going to devour it, and it's going to drink the blood of the slain, because that's what lions do. Okay. Yisrael is like a lion. And we're like a family of lions. Have you ever seen a pride of lions that are just walking around? What are they doing? They're there to devour. They're there. They only have one mission. Okay. And that is to destroy. We got the strength of an ox, the strongest domestic animal on the face of the earth. But also too, Yah likens us to being like a lion and lionesses. So everybody that's present right now, understand how Yah sees you. If you see this picture right here, does this male lion have his mane cut off? Huh? Is he shaving his head bald? No. Men, you better not shave your mane off. You understand? This is what is at. Yah says that we're going to devour. We read earlier this week that Yah says the nation of Israel, the remnant of Yisrael, Akoti Azania, or she always mentions, talks about that rim package, that residual that's left over, shall be like a lion among a flock of sheep. That's how Yah sees us. You understand? I'm going to slow my roll this time today. Rishon is the first, like the first day of the week. That's how the first thing we're going to talk about is Rishon. The second thing that we're going to talk about in this, order is Shani, which is called the second. Okay. And of course, Shalishi is the third thing that you and I are going to talk about. And then we're going to have a conclusion. We do have some brew in here today. As you know, my brew is the definitions that gives a little bit more insight into what a word means. And also too, we're going to have some English terms in here as well. And we're going to dig a little bit deeper today and find out what it is. So Balak is pretty much about a war that he wanted to start with Yisrael. And he thought if he can curse them, and if I can get someone to come against them, then we would have the power to drive them out and we could destroy them. The goal is to stop progress. The goal is to put an end to these people because they're a problem for us. Okay. What we have, as I always have, is Hebrew here. There's a few words that I really want you to learn today. And this is part of who you are. Ma is what? If you can remember. What does ma mean?
What is it?
What is it? Right? So we're going to open up with a question because that's what ma is. Ma is a question. And you're going to see this word all throughout this lesson today. It's a question. And the question is this. Yah asked his people, my people, what have I done to you? And you can find this in the book of Micah or Micah, which is who is like Yah. They call it Micah, but it's in the book of Micah. Okay. And it says, what have I done to you? What have I done to you? How? have I wearied you? And he gives this imperative. Answer me. The Creator's speaking. He's asking, what have I done to you? What is it? Ma, what have I done to you? Right? So you ask yourself, well, why is he asking this question? Because it's obvious that his people have done something to him. Okay. And one of the things that he wants us to do is to zakar. Okay. That's what he wants us to do. He wants us a zakar. And what is a zakar?
To remember.
To remember. That's where you get your prophet Zechariah. Okay. That's where you get your prophet named Zechariah, which they call Zechariah, which Akoti Azanya had mentioned about, chapter number, I think, would you say chapter 1 or chapter 3, where you talked about, it's chapter 3. So who, how do Yah remembers? And so that prophet is talking about Yah remembering Israel, right? So you will find Hebrew words within the names of the prophets that tell you how they function, right? And what their message is about. So Zechariah is talking about Yah remembering. He's going to remember, okay? And often Yah remembers, not often, Yah remembers everything. He does, okay? So what he said here was, because he asked a question, what have I done to you? Right? And he says, I brought you out or brought you up from the land of Mizraim. I redeemed you from a life of slavery. I sent Moshe, Aharon, and Mizraim to you. I want you to remember this. Okay. Often we want to do a lot of talk, but we don't want to take the time to reflect and to remember. Yah is asking his people to remember. Okay. Why? Because you and I are what they would call the Amin. You're my Amin. You're my people. Zakar Amin. Okay. I want my people to remember what Balak, the king of Moab, had planned. This is hundreds of years later. Yah's mentioning Balak and he's mentioning Balaam. And he says, what the son of Balaam answered. And what happened? I need you to remember this. Right? And what happened between Shittim and Gilgal, and so that you will understand the saving deeds of Yahweh. From what you read this week, what in your understanding was Balak trying to do? What was his plan? Somebody tell me.
Curse Israel.
He's trying to curse Israel. He was trying to put a curse on Israel. And the purpose of that curse, everyone, is to weaken them so I can overrun them. If you curse somebody, that means that they're going to be destroyed. I have a higher likelihood of destroying a people that's cursed. So why is Yah trying to get us to remember this? He's trying to get us to remember something, that, listen, this guy was trying to get you cursed so he can destroy you, okay? And then he says, but I want you also to remember what Balaam, the son of Baar, answered him, which we're going to get into. Balaam had some answers for Balak. And one of the answers that he always said is, I can only do what Yahweh allows me to do. I can only say what Yahweh puts in my mouth. That's all I can do. So there's some things that Yahweh has said to Balaam and Balak that Yahweh wants us to know about, what he wants us to remember, because if he didn't want us to remember, he would have never asked a question. So look, let me show you. The question is, my people, what have I done to you? How have I wearied you? Answer me. I want you to give me an answer. I need you to remember, okay? That's what I need you to remember. What this in particular individual tried to do to you. So this in particular Torah portion is very significant. It's a turning point in Israel's destiny. Okay, that's why it's there, because it talks about their destiny. In Shani, Yah had asked them to Shema. I need you to listen. So you'll see I'll have a Hebrew word, and in the text, I'll also have that word highlighted for you, okay? And I'll have it bolded so you can understand what I'm talking about. So when you see these things, I need you to look and see what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm teaching you Hebrew while I'm going over the Torah portion. That's my goal. Yah has set it upon my heart and said, when you talk to my people, you bring them and you teach them the language as you're teaching them the Torah, because there is no Torah without the language. Okay. So here it is. Shema, again, Ami, my people. Okay. While I'll give you warning, Yisrael, if you would only listen to me. Okay. So Shema is not only here, but Shema is also to listen. Okay. To me. There is not to be with you any foreign God. Absolutely none. You are not to worship an alien God. That's my warning to you. Okay. We found in our Torah portion this week that at the end of it, in chapter number 24 and part of 25, Israel is getting involved again with another God. Okay. So this in particular text right here would be found in Psalms 81, which went along with the Torah portion because it talks about Yah's enemies and it also talks about what their desire is. Okay. And so he's giving his people a warning. I'm letting you know what time it is, that I need you to listen. And what they need to listen to is my voice. Okay. And so listening Shema is to listen to the kol. The kol. That is the Hebrew word for voice. Okay. And if Yahweh wanted to make it his voice, he would be kole. Okay. Kole. But he said, kol, listen to me, my voice, my kol. Okay. That's what I need you to listen to. I don't need you to listen to anyone else. Just like he told Balaam, I put opposition in front of you because you didn't do what I asked you. But now that you've gone to the point where you've gone, I need you now to listen to what I say and do everything I tell you and say everything that I told you to say. One of the things, just one of them that Yah wants us to understand or to listen is what his voice is. This is the first word, the first Ahad Rishon Devar. Ha means the, Rishon means first, word of the Berith, which is the covenant, as you and I would understand, as the agreement between Yahweh and the children of Yisrael that was made in Exodus chapter number 20. The agreement was mentioned and brought to Yisrael in chapter number 19. And they said, everything that you say, we will do. Okay. So they agreed to what you would call the Berith, also recognized as a marriage covenant. Okay. So this is the first word, the Hadrashon Devar, that Yahweh had said. I am Yohewah. I'm Yahweh, your power, who brought you out from the land of Mizraim, out of the house of slaves. Not the dwelling of slaves, the house of slaves. Mizraim was a place where you were only a slave. That's their intention for you. That's what they wanted to keep you as. But I'm your power who brought you out from that land, from that place, okay? That house of slaves. You understand? So that's my first word to you that I want you to listen to, okay? Because he says, I'm always asking you, I'm warning you to listen to my voice. When Yahweh says that there shall not be to be, he's talking about this word right here, yeh. Okay, yeh. And it's written in a yod, a hey, a yod, and another hey. Very similar to Yahweh's name, yod, hey, and then Yah puts a wah and then a hey. Forgive my haze. Doing my finger. Okay. Very similar. That means to exist, because Yahweh's name means he that exists. Okay. Yah's letting us know that there shall not exist to you. And what he means by that is forever. There shall never, ever, ever exist to you any other Elohim. So lo yea, there will never. Okay. Because this is part of his voice too. This is his second word that he said, which is ha shini. Ha shini. Ha meaning what? What does ha mean?
The
And shini means what?
second word.
The second devar, the second word. Yah's complaint with his people is that I'm going to give you a warning to listen to my voice. Often we want to hear Yahweh through, some voice coming out of heaven, like in the New Testament or something like that. Or we want to hear him vocally and, some kind of word that way. The only time you and I are going to hear Yahweh is through him speaking through his word. This is why it's so important that you don't listen to anything that doesn't have Yahweh's name attached to it. If Yah has never said one mumbling word in the New Testament, why would you and I even listen to it? He never spoke. His name is mentioned over 6,828 times. I need you to write that down. 6,828 times. I've looked for individuals to challenge me, to have a debate about it, to tell me, and you know what they can't explain to me? They can never explain to me why his name is not mentioned not one time. Mention means the car. Why is it not mentioned? Because it doesn't exist. The second word here is I am Yahweh. Again, he's saying it again. Who brought you out of the land of Mizraim, out of the house of slavery. And then he follows by saying, another power will not ye for you in my presence, meaning in my face. This individual will never exist to you in my face. That's the second word that Yahweh has spoken. You say, well, what does this have to do with the Torah portion? You have to follow along and you'll see. Shamar. Shamar means to guard. I need you to guard what I said. I need you to pay attention in English. Okay. Pay attention doesn't mean just listen. It means to guard everything I've said to you, Israel, because my complaint is, what have I done to you? The problem with you is that you don't listen to what I say. The problem with you is you're trying to find a way outside of what I said. But one of the things that you and I do that Yah says that he doesn't want us to do anymore, which I thought was, I got a whole nother understanding here when I did the study on it. He tells us in the book of Exodus, chapter number 23, verse 13, you and I are not to invoke the names of other gods or even let them be heard crossing your lips. Okay. So when I studied this, the Hebrew word lo came up. Okay. Aleph, a lamed and the aleph, lo. And lo means absolutely not ever. It doesn't, not to a certain point in time. Mama, can I go outside and play? No, not right now. That's low, but it's not an absolute no. Okay. When Yah uses the word low, he's talking about forever. It's not until you get to a certain place. It's not to a certain time. It's forever. Okay. This word invoke also means to mention, which goes back to our word zakar. And that is to, I don't want you not only to let it come out your mouth, but I don't want you to zakar it. I don't want you to remember it. I don't want you to have a reminder of it. And I don't want you to mention it. And the reason why I don't want you to mention it is simply because when you and I mention the names of any other gods, then you and I are saying that they exist. That's what Yah has shown to me. You and I are not to mention the name, and mention means zakar. Don't put a memorial on it, because if you put a memorial on it, that means that it exists. Yah's name is the only name that will and shall ever truly exist as being the only Elohim. So he's saying, when you speak of anything or anyone that's supposed to be a God, you're acting as if it exists, and you're acting as if it was and it is. And that's an offense to the Creator, because you and I know that from the word that we learned just recently, Yeh has to do with existence. I'm telling you that nothing shall exist. But if you go around and you keep saying this name, even when we make mention of the name, what they would say, JC, we think, well, we're abbreviating the name. And guess what the Creator's saying? You're mentioning it. You're mentioning it as if it does exist, as if he was a God, and you decided to. See, we don't have a clear understanding. There should never be mention of anyone else. Because if you mention it, even in conversation, even in abbreviation, even if it and this is, I'm talking about myself. I've used the term, the abbreviations. I've used different names to cover it, so I wouldn't have to say, because I thought, well, I don't supposed to say the name. But the part that Yah is telling us also is to not to invoke it, not to have a memory of it. You understand? And I know that's difficult, because there's a lot of people around us that are still memorializing it and still saying it. I had a guy who came over to my house yesterday to give me a bid on some construction work, and all he talked about was his so-called God of the New Testament. Okay, and he kept mentioning this name. You know who I'm talking about. He kept mentioning this artificial God, and I never responded at all. I never gave it any credence, like, nothing. Okay, so this is something that Yah wants us to understand. You and I can say, well, we didn't say it. It didn't cross our lips. But Yah says, just based on you having a memory of it and memorializing it and even mentioning it in any kind of form is something that I told you not to do. This is going to be one of the biggest things that you and I are going to have to work on from here on out. That's what he's letting us know today. Because you and I, and when he talks about guarding what he says, you need to guard what I said, but also too, you need to guard who I am. That's what you need to do. Because no one in the heavens is mentioning any name about anybody else. Well, that's going to be hard, Dawid. Well, that's something you and I have to do. That's what we're going to have to do. Here I bring up this in particular individual by the name of Eov. In the English, they have a name for him called what? Eov. Somebody tell me. Job. Job's name means hostile. It means enemy. Okay. When I was doing the Torah portion this week, and it mentioned that it was a Hasatan, okay, of the Malach, and then I did my research and I said, well, when's the first time it's mentioned? Well, it's mentioned in Eov. And I asked myself the question, like, what is that? Hallelujah. What does that have to do with the Torah portion? The Creator continue to read, and you'll find out. Hasatan answered Yahweh, it is for nothing that Eov fears Elohim. Is it for nothing? Okay. You've put a protective hedge around him, his house and everything he has. You've prospered his work, and his livestock are spread out all over the land. But if you were to reach out your hand and you touch whatever he has, without doubt, he will curse you to your face. So that was something that I was like, wow, that's interesting that he said that he would curse. So I began to read the whole entire book of Iyov. And within it, not just the first, couple of chapters that were you guys talking to Hasatan, but also too about his life and what he was experiencing. One of the things that the creator showed me was that, number one, when Satan said that he'll curse you to your face, this right here is a mistranslation. This is a mistranslation. I want you to, when you have some time today on your Shabbat, I want you to go in and look at that verse and search it out and see if Yah said he's going to curse you. He did not say that he's going to curse you to your face. The actual interpretation and translation of this, the proper way, according to the Hebrew text, is the fact that because you would take everything away from him, okay, that he has, his prosperity, then he would not bless you. He's not going to bow down and bless you. That's what's going to happen. That's what he said. So Job wasn't trying or ever in a position of cursing Yah. That's how the English writers wrote it, because they don't understand the blessing of Yahweh and who he is. I thought that to be quite interesting. The fact that the hedge that Yah had put around him of protection was because of how upright this man was and how righteous he was. Yah said he was blameless. And Yah had asked Hasatan, where have you been? He said, I've been walking, throughout the earth, back and forth. That's what I've been doing. So we know that Hasatan is real, right? It's not the devil. Hasatan is the opposer, the opposition, the opponent. And he's been walking up and down in the earth. And what it is that he has complete understanding and he has complete knowledge. Because Yah asked him question, have you ever considered my servant, my Avdi, the one who serves me? Have you seen him and what he's done? He says, yeah, I know everything about him. So this kind of got me to thinking, what does he know? He says, he knows that Yah has a protective hedge around him. There's something that he saw, that he knows that's around the people that are living a blameless and righteous life. Yah puts a protective hedge around individuals and their homes and everything he has. He understood. He's been watching him. You understand? This is what an enemy does, and an opposer and an opponent. They watch your work. They know what you do. They know what you have. He knew about his livestock. He knew about his family. He knew about everything about him. Kind of like Balak. Balak was watching Yisrael. He knew what they have done. He knew that they went into a war with the people that did you know that Balak got defeated by the Emry? The Emry took over the part of his land. So that's why he was scared, but he had inside information. So Yah's giving us a hint of what the enemy and what the opposer does and what an adversary does. They watch you and they know what you have. Okay. And these are the people in your family. You don't think that they're watching you? You don't think they're calculating how much you have and what you're doing? You don't think they understand and they can see the prosperity about your work and your accomplishments? So that's what you can see in this. And when this happened, when Yah took this hedge of protection away from this individual who was considered faithful and blameless and righteous and upstanding, Iyov became hostile. And the way that he became hostile was the words that he spoke out of his mouth against the Most High. He even admitted at the end of his talks and his speeches, and he's begging, I need a trial. I need Yahweh to bring me before him, and I'll be found to be guiltless. Because he believed that he had nothing wrong with him. But Yah did say he was righteous and he blameless. So what was it about Job? He thought because of everything that he had and his prosperity, and he thought because of all the good things that he'd done, that he was not prone to hostility from anybody else. He didn't understand that Yahweh can put his hand on him too. Yah is the one who gave Hasatan the authority. No one has no authority to do anything to us without Yahweh's permission. The devil is not operating outside of the parameter because he doesn't exist. Hasatan exists, and Yah moves him in people's lives to get the results that Yah's looking for. He moved, Yahweh's hand moved against Eov through Hasatan. As a consequence of this, Eov lost all these things. But you know what he didn't do? He didn't curse Yah. He actually blessed Yah. He got on his face and he bowed down. And then the second time it came again where the sons of Elohim appeared before Yahweh. And Hasatan showed up again. Why? Because he's one of the sons. And Yah asked him again, so where are you going now? Meaning we're, according to the Hebrew text, so where are you going to go from here now? What's the next move? What's your next move? What are you going to do now? He said, well, hey, I guarantee if you touch his life, I guarantee if you touch his body, guarantee if you touch his bones and his skin, I guarantee it. I guarantee it. He won't curse you. He won't bless you. That's what it says. Never mention a curse. He won't bless you. So for us, it's not about you and I having the courage to curse Yah. It's whether or not you and I have the courage to bless Yah in the midst of our trials. Are we going to be the ones who are going to get on our knees while your body's hurting and bless him? You're going to bless him for the tribulation and the tough times. You're going to bless him for the hostilities that you receive from work. Are you going to bless him for the opposition? Like I told you earlier this week, you need to understand that the opposition and the opponent is there to make you better. As a result of this man was able to what? To be reinstated, which is a picture of Yisrael. It's not going to curse Yah to his face. He's not going to bless Yah. That's what it is. And if you and I don't understand this, then you and I are going to be devastated. Eov was devastated. He received devastating news. He lost everything, folks. He lost his sons. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He lost them all. And everything that happened to him in one day. One day, when his sons died, the cattle got taken, this got burned up, all this. And the interesting thing about it, if you read the book of Eov, you'll find out that there were 2 families that came against him, which are called the family of Seva, which are from the Hamitic line, the Kamites, from Cush, they're Cushites. And also, too, he had the Chaldeans, which are the Babylonians, that came against him and was used. So we can see this again in a connection, how the people that surround you are the ones that are going to be used to bring this opposition. They're there for that reason. Some people are born, listen to me carefully, to be in opposition. Did it not say that the wicked were created for the day of judgment? There's some people that are just going to be that. You understand? And you and I are worried about that. Doesn't seem fair. Well, the bottom line is Yah didn't choose you for that. Oh, he don't have a right to make one rich and one poor? What did Eov said? You can accept the good from Yahweh, but you can't accept the evil? You understand? We have to be able to accept the good and the bad from Yah. We have to be able to accept the discipline from Yah. Yah talking to us and chiding us, rebuking us. Otherwise, you and I will not only be devastated, but you and I will be brought to complete ruin. Just as if a lion is tearing your body apart. There's some brew there. The word Yov comes from this root called ayav, meaning a spear, an enemy. Okay. In the Hebrew text, this in particular word right here, and I'm going to put it in here. The first letter right there is an aleph. That's what that is. Okay. This next one right here, this B right here, is a bet. Okay. But there's a letter that's in between them. And that one right there is a yod. Okay. So there's the word father within the word of an enemy. So is the father an enemy? No, the father's not an enemy. Okay. So we know that the father, so an aleph represents what? If you can remember.
Strength,
Strength. The bet represents what?
the dwelling, the tent.
Thank you. So the father is the strength of the house. Okay. And when the father's in the house, he's like the pole. Okay. His pole is there used to hold the tent up. It's a pole that's used to hold the tent up. So he holds the dwelling up. That same pole has a sharp end that could be used as a spear. Anybody who tries to come against the house is an enemy. That's an enemy. See? So when you find out, and it's the father that's protecting the house against the enemy. So Balak, Bilam, Midian, and all the rest of these people don't understand that our Father is Yahweh, that he's there to protect his house. You understand? And anybody that tries to go against him is an enemy. Anybody that tries to go against him and his family is an enemy. Listen to what Balak said, the son of Zippor. He saw that all Israel had done to the Emri. As I told you, Moab was very afraid of the people because there were so many of them, as it was when they were in Egypt. They're always concerned about our numbers, okay? Moab was overcome with dread because of the people of Israel. These people are literally sick, vomiting, stress, depression, anxiety, tripping. So Moab said to the leaders of Midian, this horde will lick up everything around us, the way an ox licks up grass in the field. Balak, the son of Zippor, was the king of Moab at that time. But Balak's name means to devastate. To devastate. He wanted to devastate Israel. He wanted to bring them to ruin. But why? We asked the question, Ma, why? What is it? Ma, what are some of the behaviors? Ma, what's the behavior? What's the behavior of an enemy? And this is good for us because Yah's showing us something. An enemy is going to be someone who shows some type of aggression against you. You see? Husbands and wives, listen to me very carefully. And those of you who intend on getting married, listen to me. And those of you who married and those who were married. You and I cannot show these types of behaviors in our marriages and in our families. Aggression is a sign of an enemy. Okay? I mentioned husband and wife. I mentioned family. Listen to me. Yah has a family. He has a wife. Calls Israel. Okay? Calls us a son. He calls us his wife. He's given all the different intimate relationship titles. Okay? If you show any aggression towards your husband, towards your father, towards your wife, okay, that is a behavior of an enemy. Balak was aggressive towards Israel, and Israel did nothing to them. It was unprovoked. They did nothing to them. They didn't provoke them. They didn't send anybody in there. They didn't take their people and do anything to them. Why? Because they're insecurities. Insecurities. You see? That's a behavior. They're enemy they're very insecure about their position. So because of their own insecurities, they operate out of aggression, and it's not provoked. They're just this way because they don't know how to deal with it. They're very egotistical. Okay. They're very unrelenting. They're bent on doing what they want to do. They won't stop until they destroy you. They're foolish. Balaam was foolish, and Balak. What was foolish? Somebody tell me, why do you think Balak was foolish?
To even think he can curse.
Yes. Did not he tell him that Yah had already, when he blessed him the first time, but how many other times did he ask, let's go here? He was that foolish. This man, he made over 21 altars. He gave over 21 bulls. He gave over 21 rams. He went to 3 different locations. And no matter how many times he was told that Yahweh will not curse these people, this man kept unrelentingly doing it because of his ego and because his insecurities and because he's aggressive. How does this relate to us? You're going to be devastated if you go against Yah. That's all I'm going to tell you. If you and I are running around with attitudes and we're doing any of these things towards him and we're bent on doing things our way, you're an enemy of the Most High. You can't run around and being fearful of what is going to happen. I love when Azania says this all the time. We act as if Yah doesn't have our best interests at heart. We act as if he's just going to let everything completely fall apart and he's not going to be there for us. Well, guess what? Even if he did let everything fall apart, he's still Yah. He's still the king of the universe. Job realized this at the end of his I want to be heard. He had to understand, no matter what it is, how good you may think that you are, and your accomplishments, how much you own, what your wealth is. Yah can take and do to anybody, anytime, whatever he chooses to do so. Because you and I are made and shaped by him. The life that you and I have and the breath that's in our body is from him. The food that you received this morning was from him. It's from his hand. If you have health, it's from Yah. You don't have any health, it's from Yah. We're created beings that want to take control over the creator. Enemies are also very strategic. Moab thought and Balak thought, if I can just get to them before they get to me. You don't even know that an enemy is working behind the scenes, but they are. They're working and they're devising plans, and they're very strategic about how they're going to destroy you. Even if you and I become Yahweh's enemy, it's because we have a strategy and we have a mindset that he says that these people make plans without my approval. You know, like the people today, they're claiming that somebody's a priest, or claiming that somebody's a Kohanim, or somebody claiming that somebody's anointed and that they're the king of Israel. They have plans that Yahweh is not included on. They're very strategic to bring about their own purposes. They're very wanton, self-willed, driven by their own ambition, and their own success. They still have this idea of hostility because they're afraid of what they're going to lose. Very prideful. They exalt themselves, like Balak. Hey, how many times did I have to call you? I can make you the richest man, blah, 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 blah. I'll pay you whatever. Don't matter. Why didn't you show up? You see? And one of the things that really got me about a behavior of an enemy is that they're very obstinate. They're very self-willed and they won't bend. They're unyielding to what Yahweh's purposes are. If you notice, the things that I've mentioned up here are the things that Israel has been experiencing in the wilderness. We learned a few weeks ago, there was a group of people that put a strategy together and said, we're going to take over the priesthood. You see that they were wanton, they were self-willed. You see they had hostility toward Moshe and Aharon. You see they're very prideful, they lift themselves up. They're still going to go fight when Yah says no. You see they're obstinate, they will not yield from their own way of doing things. These are behaviors, just to name a few, of an enemy. Because that's the question, what is an enemy? What are they like? The next thing I would ask is, what is an arar? What is an arar? A-R-A-R, arar. What is that? What's an arar? An arar is a curse. It means to spit in someone's face or before them. This is why he says, therefore come and curse this people for me, because they are stronger than I am. Maybe I will be able to strike them down and drive them out of the land. For I know that whomever you bless, in fact, is blessed, and whomever you curse is in fact cursed. So Balak had previous experience with Balaam. This wasn't his first hire. It wasn't his first time hiring this man to do the job for him, because that's how he knew it. Balaam had a reputation of being for real, like I'm the real one. If I say this is going to happen, it's going to happen. If this doesn't happen, it's going to happen. But in the culture of the people back there, if someone's spitting in your face, it disrespected you and it brought you and it minimized you. You see? So speaking against people and cursing someone is like spitting in their face. You see? And that's the behavior of an enemy. See, so you go back to Job, he didn't say that he's going to curse you and spit in your face. It means that he's not going to bow down before you and bless you. You see? So it's completely different. That's why Yah says anybody to curse their mother or father. When a person uses speech against their father and mother in any kind of capacity, it's not, I'm going to curse you out, F you, I don't give a F, da 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 da, you bi, none of that. He ain't talking about that. It's weird. He's talking about, what are you saying? What words are coming out your mouth? Anybody that curses their mother or father, spits in their mother or father's face, not only physically, but in their words, you will surely be put to death, because that is not going to be accepted in the family of Yahweh. Ma, what does it mean? What is it? What is it that we as a people must do? We found out what Balaam said. He said, mustn't I take care to say what Yahweh puts in my mouth? This is what you and I are supposed to do. Mustn't I take care to say just what Yahweh puts in my mouth? That's what you and I are supposed to say. So that's the what? That's the ma. What is this? What is Shema? Somebody tell me what Shema is.
Listen.
Listen and obey. Yahweh is telling Israel, as he's been saying all day long, listen to the words of this covenant. Then speak to the people of Yehuda and the inhabitants of Yerushalayim. You can find this in the book of Yirmiyahu, chapter number 11. Tell them that Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, says a curse on anyone who does not pay attention, meaning guard the words of this covenant. I'm going to spit on you, okay, which I've enjoyed unto your ancestors at the time that I brought them out of the land of Mizraim. As you notice, this has been the theme that Yah has always said. I've warned you before that you should not have any other Elohim with you or any foreign God, because I'm the one who brought you out of that iron smelter. I said, this is what I've been saying. And believe me, he's been saying this for thousands of years. Listen to my voice. Kol, Shema Koli. Listen to my voice and carry out all my orders. Then you will be my people, and I will be your Elohim. If we want to stay connected, let me finish, so that I can fulfill the oath that I swore to your ancestors to give them a land flowing with milk and honey, as it is today. And their response was, Aman, meaning we support this. And yet, did they do it? Are they interested? Are you and I interested in maintaining a relationship? It's not until you and I listen to the voice, till we shema to the call of Yahweh, that you and I will be his people and carry out my orders. And I will be your Elohim. I'll be your power. Okay? So I know that I tell you all the time, well, Yah's not living among us, but we're living among him. Okay? But Yah's goal and ultimate goal is to fulfill the oath that he swore to our ancestors. So when you got someone like Balak, you got someone like the Ha'imri, you got some people like the Edomites, and the Girgasites and the Kaaninis and all the rest of these people. What they're trying to do is thwart Yahweh's oath, so he can't fulfill it. So he can't make it happen. And the sad part is that you and I have been instrumental in this not happening fully because of our disobedience and not listening to Yah. It's happened to us because you and I would rather spit on Yahweh and what he said, rather than to listen and obey what he said. We rather make excuses up for everybody, including our family. Oh, they don't know. They don't know. No one knows. My parents didn't know. They don't know. So how could you hold us responsible? That's our opinion. That's from our perspective. That's not Yah's perspective. And that's the danger. You and I have to shema, okay? And also, too, you and I have to understand what lo means. It means never, forever did they ever listen. Shema, lo shema. They did not do this. Lo means no. Say it. Lo means no. Forever, okay? Here you go. I solemnly warned your ancestors at the time when you guys hear Yah speaking to us. He's been talking to us the whole time. I have solemnly warned your ancestors at the time when I brought them out of the land of Mizraim. Even unto this day, I frequently warned them, listen to my voice. Balaam, I can only say what Yahweh has said. But they have not listened. Lo Shema, nor have they shamar. They have not paid attention. Instead, each one lived according to their own stubbornness. And that's called obstinance. And that's called a behavior of an enemy. So when you live according to the way you want to and your own evil heart, You're an enemy. For this reason, I brought upon them all the words of this covenant, which I ordered them to obey, the Shema, but they did not Shema, lo Shema. So we find that even the words he said, I brought upon them, all the words of this covenant. The covenant is inclusive of the things, if you don't do what I say, this is going to happen to you. You see? So we're the ones who have brought this upon ourselves. That's what it is. Often we live in a state of what they would call expectancy. What is it that you and I are truly after? And what should we expect? Everything has an expectation. When the lion goes out to hunt, they're not going out in vain. They're going out to find prey. When an eagle leaves its nest, it's not going in vain. It has an objective. It has an expectation. When you're going on a search, you're looking for something. In the case of Israel, they couldn't really wrap their mind around why Yah brought them to a place with no water and no food. It never crossed their mind to think, what are we supposed to be looking for out here? You should know when you go to a desert, you're not going to find anything. That's obvious. You see, you don't have to state the obvious, it's right in front of you. The problem with our people is that we don't think. If whatever situation you're in your life right now, you got to ask yourself, take the time to think about it and meditate upon it. Yah sent us into exile to make us think. If there's no water in the desert and there's no food in the desert, then what is it that you should be looking for? What is it? Why are you with Yah? Why are you in this place with him? What is the expectancy? What does he expect from us? This is a relationship. And in any relationship, there should be some expectations. And they have to be met in order for the relationship to make sense. And Yah has laid out what the expectations are. He hasn't speaking to us in some dark saying, and our relationship with Yah is a Rubik's Cube. The commandments are a Rubik's Cube, so we got to spend all day and all night trying to make all the colors turn a certain way. It's obvious. Melech Dawid, which is a man after Yahweh's own heart, he said something. I love Dawid. I really, truly do. And not just because my name is Dawid, but I love him because he's really let it be known what the expectation should be. Okay. Listen what he said. Elohim, and this is the king of Israel. And he's a man after Yah's own mind, his own heart. If only you would kill off the wicked. Men of blood, get away from me. Oh, wait a minute. They invoke your name. So invoke again, meaning to make mention. They remind, they talk, they speak Yah's name. Who? The wicked. They invoke the name of Yahweh. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
They invoke Yahweh's name. But their purpose behind invoking his name is for crafty schemes. Did you not notice in your Torah portion that Balaam invoked Yahweh's name? He was a wicked man. How do you know that, Dawid? Because he convinced Israel to go against Yahweh by inviting women to them. You understand? He got the Midians and the Moabites. He said, let me tell you, let me show you. Yah tells us this in Numbers chapter number 31. I was saving it for that Torah portion, but I think I should mention it. Balak had crafty schemes as well. And he said, well, what did Yahweh tell you? They had his name in their mouths. So what does that tell you? It tells you that people who can have Yahweh's name in their mouth and behind the scenes, they're working crafty schemes and primarily against Yahweh's people. But also too, you and I don't understand if you and I have some other intention and we have some other motivation of being connected with Yah outside of caring about his people, then you and I are being crafty. If you're coming on class because you're trying to find a way to sell your products to Yahweh's people, and that's your whole purpose and intent, then that's a crafty scheme. If you're trying to build relationships so you can move and get certain things from certain people, get some connections, it's wrong. Could you be in this to be looking for a wife? I commend you. Thank you. You should. But a crafty scheme is something that's very deceptive. People have Yah's name in their mouth, but their thoughts behind what they do is for the sake of being crafty, which is a behavior of someone who is an enemy. Okay. And he tells us, yes, your enemies misuse it. They're Yah's enemies. Yahweh, how I hate those who hate you. I feel such disgust for those who defy you. I hate them with unlimited hatred. They have become my enemies too. See? So, before we continue, I want you to know the expectation that you have probably never been told that you and I must meet. You and I are going to have to consider Yahweh's enemies your enemies. I told you, you may walk away today and never come back, because this is what it is. Anybody that's an enemy of Yahweh's is an enemy of mine. And I'm not talking just the people that surround Israel. I ain't talking just about them. I'm talking about the people that Yah's letting us know who his enemies are. His enemies are the ones that have his name in their mouths, but they're crafty. They misuse Yahweh's name. They're wicked. What does it mean to be wicked? It means to be off of the path. We found in the book of Proverbs in chapter number 28, verse 3 and 4 and 9, that whoever refuses to hear the Torah, their prayer is an abomination. Whoever refuses to listen to the Torah praises the wicked. So anybody that doesn't have anything to do with the Torah is an enemy. And that can include you and I. And that's the tough part. That's what you and I need to expect and understand about what the expectancy is. When Yah called us to be his people, he let it be known through this seer that Yah doesn't lie. And also too, you need to understand that he says, these people that I see, they abide alone. They don't consider themselves one of the nations. They're not one of the nations. They see themselves alone. They dwell alone. That's very significant. For you and I to join up with the nations, as you're going to see later on in the latter part of the Torah portion, where there are some enemies of Yah who's decided that they're going to join up with someone else. and they're going to adopt their ways and their customs. David wanted Yah to examine him and to know him and to know his mind. And I think that you and I need to ask Yah to do the same. We need to ask Yah to examine us and to know our minds and to test us. This is not the behavior or the wish or the desire of an enemy. An enemy is not asking for examination of themselves. An enemy would never want Yah to examine them and to know their mind, because they're working what? In a very crafty way. Having Yah's name in your mouth is not enough. You understand what I'm saying to you today? There's a process of us going through to be tested and to be examined thoroughly, and Yah to know our thoughts, because that's how you would know whether or not you're an enemy. David wanted to know the Yah to see if there's anything in me that's any hurtful way, because that's what wicked people do. They hurt people. That's their whole goal. That's their whole desire. And they're an enemy. The wicked is the enemy. Lead me along the eternal way. I want to know the way that you want me to go, because if I'm not following your way, then I am your enemy, because a wicked person is on another path. That's why it's so important for you and I to stay on the eternal path. The eternal path is the Torah. It's not an eternal life, it's eternal path. You see, this way of life is forever. It's never going to change. The Torah is perfect. It converts the soul, the inner person. It's pure. It lets you know what it is. It warns us. It tells us what it is. You see? So you and I need to ask Yah these things, because David is a man after Yah's own mind. That's what his mind was. This is what Yah wants. You and I should want to know that. And the only way you can truly know is if you and I ask Yah to search. You don't want to do it yourself. You want Yah to search you. That's a very thorough search. Okay. Because me, I'm prone to overlook some things because I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. There might be a part of me that just is disgusting. There might be a part of me that's just filth in front of the Most High. And I ain't talking, a lot of people think, oh, that's sexual or lust or whatever, that kind of filth. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about a mindset can be a filth and an abomination to Yahweh. And because of who we're dealing with, you and I have to be very, very careful what you and I would consider to be filth. Because we have our opinion, and what we think is not what he thinks. In conclusion, I want to talk to you briefly about this Baal worship. Okay. It means to binding of oneself. Okay. Worship has to do with binding, tying yourself to something. Okay. Okay. And the Baal over here is calling someone your Lord of who you are. You see? You're binding yourself. You're tying yourself to somebody or something. And this is the problem that Israel has had. The word for Lord, L-O-R-D, is Baal. And this is the reason why Yah tells us that, hey, look, you're not to worship anyone else, period. Yah knows that I'm reading this term right here, not because I want to bring it to remembrance. I'm teaching. I'm not trying to express it in my conversation, okay? What is Baal worship? What is it? What is this binding of oneself? What is it? Baal Peor literally means the Lord of open holes. The Lord of the rectum. Scholars have said that they would have these parties. They would build these altars. They would sacrifice to their gods of the open holes and the god of the rectum, the master of rectums. Okay. So when the children of Israel, when Balaam convinced the Midians and the Moabi, like, you can't get them, witchcraft doesn't work on them. I told you guys this. Okay. But what can work on them is parties and other gods. He knows the history. He knows who they are. You understand? He understood what can get them. So he knew that they weren't going to be cursed by Elohim. He knew that there would be no iniquity found in them. He knew this because Yah told him to say these things. So what he did was he conspired a plan, put a plan and a scheme together to get Israel to come to these parties, to come to this party. They got the people to go to the party. And at this parties, they're having sex. They're defecating around the altar. Do your research. You'll find out. Okay. And they're having anal sex. You see? You remember Yah says when you get around these people, I don't want you to be like, because it's detestable. Their practices are detestable. So this is what they were doing. Okay. So when Yah looks at us worshiping another Elohim, especially one with a name that's like this is what he sees. You and I may never see it because we haven't been privy to the party. I've never been invited to a party and wouldn't go to a party like that. But who knows if I wasn't following the Torah? You see? These are what the people are doing around the nations. You and I don't see it, but this is who they are. Sexual misconduct has always been part of Israel's makeup. Yah has told them, when you get to the land, you can't have sex with your sister, your mother, your brother, your sister, your wife, your father's wife, your brother-in-law's wife, your daughter-in-law, animal with mankind, womankind. Woman can't lay with animal. You thought he just mentioned that because that's just something that he thought they were going to do? He said the practices of that which was in Egypt and the practices of these people around you. This is what they do. This is how they celebrate. That's what they honor. So Balaam fully understood, if I'm going to get Israel, if there's no iniquity in Israel, what we have to do is we have to create it. And we can create that with their festival. We can create that. Invite them to what you do. And we can defile them. He understood it. See? So when you and I want to be among the nations and we want to be joined to them, all because you don't see their practices out in front in your view, doesn't mean that these types of things are not happening. They're happening, you guys. It's real. Okay? Matter of fact, we don't have to go to the rest of the nations. We could go right here in the United States of America. The homosexuals are the masters of the rectums. That's what they do. The men have sex with the men, and you know how it goes. It's one of the filthiest areas that's on part of a human being. Full of bacteria, waste products. See? It should have the hazardous material. When they come to be with one another, they should have a hazardous material bucket next to the side of the bed, but they don't. The number one person who's receiving the monkeypox right now is a homosexual. The master of the rectum, because that's what a Lord is. You see? So that's part of the culture. So that practice is being performed as we speak. Is also being performed in what they would call Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Here in San Francisco, Chicago, all over the world. They're having gay parades and pride, transgender, lesbian, all this. People having sex with their dogs and their cats and their horses and their sheep. This is where it's at. It's filthy. So then the next question arises, then why would you and I want to be part of the nations? Why do you and I want to sit with them at a table and eat? There's, in my family, homosexuality is rampant through people that are invited to their parties. See? So when you're sitting at the table next to, I don't go to any of those parties. When you go to those parties, you're sitting next to the table and you're eating out of the same bowls and the food that they are eating from. The same hand that dipped that potato chip, and that dip is the same hand that was doing what they're doing. And you and I are wondering why Yah's trying to separate us from people. You don't know the filth that's going on. You and I are looking at this as a religious, so we just can't be. Yah don't want you around them because they're contaminated. They're filthy. And I said it. And I will continue to say it. But Ma, what is the punishment? Ma, what's the punishment for this? How many people did Yahweh kill because of this? Somebody tell me if you read your Torah portion.
Our city.
Yahweh killed 24,000 of Israel with a plague. 24,000 people because of a plague. Okay. But he also did something to the elders or the people, the ringleaders, the people who were the heads of the tribes who were doing this. What did he do to them? What's the punishment? Did he not tell them, I need you to hang those men up before the sun so I can turn my anger away from the people, even though they were plagued? Right? And Pinchas, out of nowhere, in the crowd in front of the tent of meeting, there was a man who walked up, a young Hebrew Israelite man came in with a woman from Midian to show him to his brothers, not his family, as they stated in English translation, to his brothers. I'm going to show him what a bad one I got right now. I'm going to show him how bad she is. Look at this one right here, Cosby. Woo! Look how bad she is. Pinchas got a spear. Remember? He got a spear. Well, according to our teachings and what we learned today, a spear is used to what? To protect the family. So he went and got a spear on behalf of Yahweh, and he speared both of them through. In next week's Torah portion, you're going to find out about Pinchas, but I'll tell you right quick what Yah did say. He stopped the plague of the 24,000. They didn't even get a chance to hang the other people first. He stopped it, even though those people were hung. Okay, but I'm going to show you what the punishment is. It's not only the plague. Yahweh said to Moshe, take all the ringleaders, the Rosh Hakim, and have them publicly impaled. Or impaled, excuse me, before Yahweh. I need you to impale them. I don't need you to hang them by their necks. I need you to stick a stick through their rectum and you put them up before me, before the sun, so that my wrath might turn away from Israel. Since you like to do nasty things and you like to play around with rectums, I'm going to show you what's going to happen to your rectum. I'm going to drive a pole through your rectum. and I'm going to put you up on it. So that's from our Elohim. So I hope you and I can get a clear picture of who you and I are dealing with. Measure for measure. You see? Whatever you and I do, there's a cost and there's an expense. There's a punishment. There is a rendering for it. Everything is a just, measurable judgment. English tells you let's hang them. That's easy. Hang them up in front of the sun. Oh, they got hung. No, they didn't get hung. They got impaled. I want you to think about getting impaled or impaled. And it wasn't no branch. Who knows what the circumference of that was and how, because they'll be able to hold a body up before the sun and to sustain it. As that pole is going through your rectum, is going up through your stomach, is going up through your intestines, and it probably ends up getting all the way to the top of your throat. And hopefully your head didn't pop off. Does that seem cruel? Blown away, aren't you? Never saw it, did you? If Yah's willing to do that and have that as a judgment, do you really think he's going to have a problem judging the nations? Do you? Do you really think he's going to have a problem with anybody that binds himself to anybody except for him? He's not going to have a problem. That's your Torah portion. I hope that you can understand from what you learned today that if you and I don't listen to Yahweh, he is going to allow you and I to be devastated. He's going to devastate us, and he's going to devastate our homes, and he's going to just devastate our families. We're not in a religion. We are in a relationship with the King of the universe. And you and I are going to have to pick a side. And you can't pick it at the last minute. You can't let your desire to want to be like the nations get the best of you. That's just a small glimpse of what happens when you get involved with the nations. There's even some text to talk about how these men had married women that they didn't supposed to, the Moabite women. Back in the book of Ezra and the book of Nehemiah. Send those families away. Send those women out of here and their children. Get them out from among you, because you have brought the anger of Yahweh upon these people, upon Israel. Our lives are supposed to be set apart. And for you and I to get introduced to Yah and for him to reveal himself to us is pretty significant. So things for us is going to change. It's going to be difficult. This was a very eye-opening. You know, Balaam said, I'm the man who with his eye open, his third eye was open. And then he would fall on the ground and his eyes were remained open as he gave a proclamation. Yah's desire is to open our eyes. And the eye that he's trying to open for us is our third eye. You can't see this stuff in your two eyes. You got to have that third eye open. Okay, to let you know what Yahweh's intentions are. Yah's telling us that I am going to devastate all of Israel's enemies. I am going to destroy all of my enemies. You and I must make a choice and have to say, either I'm going to fall in line with the way of Yahweh, and I'm going to have to consider his enemies my enemies, because if I'm working in concert with them, I'm not working with him. You can't be on both sides. You have to make a choice. And we've seen this time and time and time again. We've seen it. We understand it. Here's a line. Who's with Yahweh? Come over here. Boom. family who was over there. Hey, I'm about to destroy this family. Get away from their tents. Got away from their tents. You see? This is what Yah does. There's always going to be this idea of separation. Okay, our Torah portion talked about the blessing that we're going to that we're going to get. We're a blessed people when Yah was with us, and when He's blessing us, the only one who could ever bless us or curse us is Yah. That's what you should have got out of this. There's no one. He says, "My people, what have I done? What is the problem? What have I done to you? How have I wearied you? I need an answer." It's like a court setting. Tell me what's going on. I need you to remember what I've done because you're my people. I need you to remember. Balak was trying to destroy you, and I didn't allow him to do that. I'm in charge of your destiny. That's what I want you to know. I'm in charge of your destiny. You have a destiny. I'll fulfill my oath that I swore to your ancestors. If you're looking for something outside of what I said, you're my enemy. If you're going around telling people that I said something I didn't say, you're my enemy. If you go and do something I told you not to do and you're in opposing me, you're my enemy. Stop acting like an enemy and join forces with me and be about what I'm about. Well, how do I do that? Stop being aggressive. Stop being aggressive towards the Creator. Stop it. Just stop it. Stop it. Stop being obstinate. Stop it. Stop trying to be calculating in your thoughts how you're going to get around the Shabbat. Stop it. Stop trying to find out ways that you can circumvent what He said. Stop it. Stop reading all these other books that nowhere did He ever say a word in. Stop it. Stop trying to add to what He said. Stop it. Stop diminishing from what He said. Stop it. Be the lion. Be the lioness. Be progressive. Walk with Yahweh. Walk with Him. And in conclusion, I didn't have a slide for it, but I know that you can understand it. In chapter number, I think it's 6. Yeah, it's chapter number 6. Mikah, who is like Yah? That's what Mikah means. Who is like Yah? Mi means who, and Ka means like Yah. Who's like Yah? Mikah, Mikah. Okay. So in chapter number 6, he says this. Verse number 8. Human being, you have already been told what is good. Ma, what is good? Ma, what is it? What is good? Wait, what? Ma. What does Yahweh demands of you? No more than to act justly, meaning mishpatim, ahavta, love, grace, and walk. And they say purity. Translation is humility. It's not purity. They're trying to make you into a religious people. Oh, I'm going to walk with purity. Oh, I can't because I just touched something. Oh, so I guess I'm not walking.
Can't hear you.
Listen. Walk in humility. Okay. They got translated purity. It's not purity. It's humility. Going to Hebrew, it's what they call, I think, I don't want to misquote it, in a state of lowliness. Okay. There's a Hebrew word called zanak, I think, zanah, but it means to walk in lowliness. That's our demand. To love kased, to do mishpatim, to do the rulings. You see? So you and I won't be an enemy. Okay? That's something you and I got to choose. I'm open to any questions. statements, and contributions? Hallelujah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone want to make a contribution?
This Torah portion was very shocking to me.
Yeah.
One of the question I had was what was pure, but you answered it. So, but it was shocking. I mean, it almost made me vomit.
Well,
But if we did see something like that on TV or YouTube, or I think homosexuality would stop if we saw the punishment of people who did stuff like that. So that was really beyond my imagination. It was shocking.
yeah.
And then about the curse, like I mentioned it, I think last week, about when I was talking negative or bad things about my sister, my mom, when I was a teenager, made me lie down and spit. And then, yes, and then spit would come back to me. And so I learned that, reminded me of this portion that my mom didn't even know about Torah, but that's interesting that she taught me that, and that if I curse my siblings, curse my mom, dad, or my spouses or children, it will come back to me.
Yes.
So that was really, really interesting.
Yes. And the reason for a curse, the purpose of a curse is to bring a person to ruin. And that's the reason why Yah has put a curse inside of the covenant, because he's letting us know, like, in order for you to get the curse, you're going to have to, your desire, instead of wanting to grow, you're going to be brought to ruin. And Yah's letting us know that if you're not connected to me, you are ruined. That's what he's saying. If you're not connected to me, you're ruined. You're going to be devastated. If it was left up to the nations, we would already been devastated. The only reason why we're not completely destroyed is because of Yahweh. That's because of his mercy and his compassion. It's not because of his blessing. It's because of his mercy and his compassion. So knowing what he's done for us, and knowing how he's protected us, and knowing how he's allowed and he's put this hedge around us to make sure that you and I don't fully get destroyed, how should you and I respond to such great love? I mean, Balaam said, I wish that I would die like them. Did you see that part in the Torah portion? He said, may my death be like their death. What is he talking about? He's letting us know that there's something special about their death. May I die like them? What does that mean? That means that you and I are special. May my death be like theirs? No one's death is as glorious as Israel's death. With our death, there will be vengeance. The blood of the servants will be avenged. You're a special people. You got to start accepting it. You have to start acting like it. You have to start embracing it and start taking it and not letting go of it. We have to. That means you got to cut some people off. You better cut them off. You're sitting around entertaining them as if they have Yah's best. They're his enemy. Go ahead, Gil.
I was reminded that, like you were saying, the enemy is always watching us. And, you know, the question comes to mind is, how come they're watching us? And, you know, I begin to think that if they know they can keep us cursed,
yes,
then they, you know, might be able to escape what's going to happen to those that have, you know.
yes, yes. Couldn't said it any better. Like I told you, I had a contractor come over and he's talking about God this, God that, you know, he's saying all this stuff. And I said, hey, listen, man, let me tell you something. That's not his name. Okay. And he looked at me, you know, he's all got all kind of ministries. I'm this, I'm this. And I said, okay, whatever. I said, hey, look, I'm just let you know something. I said, the people that call the so-called African Americans, they're the Hebrew Israelites. I said, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. And when I said it to him, you should have seen the look on his face. And then I asked him, I said, you really believe that all the things that have ever happened to these people, my people, that have never been atoned for, do you think that that's going to go unchecked? Especially with a just, God that you think you have. You really believe that? He looked sick to his stomach. His whole facial expression changed. See, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, and I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not going to stop telling people that. And if they don't get it, so what? Doesn't matter. That's who I am. That's what I do. So I like what you said, Yared. You're going to have people around you that you just got to let go. Yah has enemies, people. But you're right, Gil. You're absolutely right. They're watching you, because if you and I don't turn and call, oh, this is what I messed him up with. He goes, I heard that you guys were, why were you guys sitting here again? I said, well, because we broke our covenant. And he said, oh, he said, that makes sense. I said, yeah, well, let me tell you a little something extra. He said, what's that? I said, we're not just sitting here just to pay for our crimes, but also too, he sent us here so he can come and get us and rescue us like he did when we were in Egypt. That really, at that moment, he didn't have nothing to say. I said, he destroyed Egypt and he revealed himself to them. But his whole purpose of sending us here is to reveal himself to the world. It's a great way for him to do that. So that's the reason why we're here too. We're not here just to pay for our transgressions and crimes. We're also here so he can manifest himself to the world to let them know who our Elohim is and who he is. Praise be to the Holy One, the Kadosh One of Israel. Anyone else? Azania.
Thank you so much for the lesson. Something happened this week today in Torah portion that neither my husband and I quite understood, and it was so beautiful that we knew that we were able to go to your teachings this week and to get some understanding. So it's really great that we've gotten to the point that each of us are taking those skills that the Most High has given us. You remember when they had to build the things for the tent of the meeting, and Most High and everyone with certain skills to do that. It feels like we're getting back to our community, really becoming a nation again. And it was just wonderful that we could do that. So total about, and thank you so much for the lesson. Something that really resonated in all the lessons that you gave this week about, the enemy even lies just in